Have you ever wondered what the future might hold for your retirement years? What you'll celebrate, and perhaps what you'll wish you had done differently? Imagine sitting with seniors in their 70s and 80s, listening to the powerful lessons they've learned through trial and triumph. These aren't just stories. They're guideposts, offering you the chance to create a life without regrets. Stay with us as we uncover 5 life-changing insights that could transform how you approach your golden years, starting with one you didn't see coming. 1. The value of time. I'll never forget the day I realized how much time I was letting slip through my fingers. It was a quiet morning, and I was sipping my coffee, staring out the window at the garden. The roses I'd planted years ago were blooming, but instead of feeling joy, I felt a pang of regret. Those roses were thriving because they'd been tended to, but my dreams? Some of those had been sitting in the back of my mind, gathering dust like the old photo albums in my closet. Time, I realized, was slipping by faster than I wanted to admit. It wasn't a dramatic moment, just a slow recognition that I'd been putting off too many things for someday. If this sounds familiar, let me tell you what helped me turn things around. First, I started writing down the things I wanted to do, small or big. It didn't matter. I called it my next steps list, not a bucket list, because it wasn't about the end of life. It was about living right now. Whether it was calling an old friend, finally signing up for that watercolor class, or simply walking in the park more often, I made sure to schedule time for it. And here's the thing. When I started honoring my time, my days felt fuller, not busier. The small moments, the laughter of a grandchild, the warmth of the sun on my face, suddenly felt more vibrant. If you've been waiting for someday, start today. Even the smallest actions can create memories you'll cherish forever. 2. The importance of relationships. I remember sitting at the dining table one Thanksgiving, looking around at my family. It should have been a picture-perfect moment, but all I could think about was the empty chairs. Friends I'd lost touch with, family members I'd been too busy to call. The truth is, I let some of my relationships fade because I assumed there would always be time to reconnect. It wasn't until I got a card from an old friend, one I hadn't spoken to in years, that it hit me. The card simply said, "Thinking of you, miss our chats." It brought tears to my eyes because I realized I wasn't the only one who felt the gap. So I picked up the phone. That call turned into another, and then another. Soon I was setting regular times to check in with the people I cared about. Whether it was a quick text, a heartfelt letter, or a coffee date. Those moments became the highlight of my week. If there's someone you've been meaning to reach out to, don't wait. Relationships are the threads that weave the fabric of our lives, and mending those threads is one of the most fulfilling things you can do. You'll be amazed at how much joy and connection it brings, not just to them, but to you. 3. Prioritizing health and well-being. There was a time when I treated my health like a backup plan, something I'd focus on eventually. I skipped doctor appointments, ate whatever was convenient, and convinced myself that I'd start exercising next week. Then, one day, I found myself out of breath after climbing a single flight of stairs, and I knew something had to change. But here's the thing, making changes felt overwhelming. So I started small. I replaced my morning pastry with a bowl of fresh fruit. I added a 10-minute walk to my daily routine, even if it was just around the block. And I started setting reminders for those appointments I'd been putting off. The results didn't happen overnight, but little by little, I started feeling better, more energetic, more confident. My mornings became brighter, my afternoons more productive, and my evenings more restful. If you're feeling stuck, start with one small change. Maybe it's drinking more water, taking a stroll after dinner, or trying a gentle yoga class. Whatever it is, do it for yourself. Your body and mind are the foundation of everything you do, and taking care of them is one of the best gifts you can give yourself. 4. Financial awareness is key. I'll never forget the moment I realized I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was. It was a few years into retirement, and I got a bill that was higher than expected. I had always assumed my savings would cover everything, but life has a way of throwing curveballs, unexpected repairs, medical costs, and all those little things that add up faster than you realize. One evening, I sat down with my financial paperwork and felt completely overwhelmed. That's when my neighbor, a retired accountant, gave me the best advice. Start with where you are, not where you wish you were. So I did. I wrote down every expense, big and small, and compared it to my income. It wasn't perfect, but it gave me a clear picture of what needed to change. I started small, cutting back on things I didn't need, like magazine subscriptions I barely read. I also discovered ways to stretch my savings, like joining a senior discount program at my local grocery store and looking into tax breaks I hadn't known about. If you're feeling uneasy about your finances, don't ignore it. Take that first step, even if it's just tracking your expenses for a month. There's something empowering about knowing exactly where you stand and making decisions that work for you. It's not about cutting back. It's about creating peace of mind. 5. Lifelong learning keeps you vibrant. A few years ago, I found myself in a bit of a rut. My days felt repetitive, and I craved something new to look forward to. That's when my daughter suggested I take a class. At first, I laughed. What could I possibly need to learn at my age? I said. But she insisted, and eventually, I signed up for a beginner's painting course. Walking into that class was nerve-wracking. Everyone seemed younger and more confident. But within minutes, I realized something. No one cared how good or bad I was. We were all just there to explore and enjoy ourselves. By the end of the first session, I couldn't wait to go back. Learning something new, whether it's painting, gardening, or even using new technology, adds a spark to your days. It gives you a sense of purpose and keeps your mind active. The best part? You meet people who share your interests, creating connections you never expected. If you've been thinking about trying something new, don't overthink it. Find a local class or an online course and dive in. You'll be surprised at how much joy it brings, not to mention the stories you'll have to share with friends and family. 6. The power of saying no. I used to be the kind of person who said yes to everything. Need help with an event? Sure. Babysit the grandkids for a whole week? Of course. Volunteer for another committee? Absolutely. I thought saying yes was the way to stay involved and connected. But what it really did was leave me drained and, at times, resentful. One day, after a particularly exhausting week, I confided in a friend. She looked at me and said, "You know, it's okay to say no. You don't owe anyone an explanation." That stopped me in my tracks. I'd never thought of it that way before. The first time I declined an invitation, I felt a little guilty, but also relieved. It gave me the time I needed to focus on myself, whether that meant reading a book, going for a quiet walk, or just resting. I learned that saying no isn't about shutting people out. It's about creating space for what truly matters to you. If you've been feeling stretched thin, practice saying no in small ways. Maybe it's skipping an event you're not excited about, or setting boundaries with your time. You'll find that people understand more than you think, and the energy you gain from protecting your time is priceless. 7. Cherishing your unique style. A few years ago, I found myself staring into my closet, feeling frustrated. It wasn't that I didn't have anything to wear. Oh, I had plenty. It was that none of it felt like me anymore. Most of my clothes had been bought for work or special events. But in retirement, my lifestyle had shifted, and my wardrobe hadn't caught up. One day, My granddaughter came over and said, "Grandma, you should wear things that make you happy." That simple statement hit me hard. Why was I holding on to outfits that didn't spark joy? So we spent an afternoon going through my closet together. We laughed over my old corporate blazer collection, and she helped me create a wardrobe that felt lighter, brighter, and more authentic. If you've been holding on to clothes that don't fit your current life, let them go. Pick a few pieces that make you smile, whether it's a cozy sweater, a bold scarf, or a favorite pair of earrings. It's not about following trends. It's about expressing who you are today. Your unique style is a reflection of your journey, and celebrating it can make you feel more confident and comfortable in your own skin. 8. Letting go of comparison. I used to catch myself comparing my life to others all the time. At family gatherings, I look at my sister-in-law, who seemed to have it all together, and wonder why I couldn't be more like her. Her house was always spotless. She cooked elaborate meals, and she seemed to juggle everything effortlessly. Meanwhile, I felt like I was barely keeping up. Then one day, she confided in me, "I admire how you always find time for your hobbies and friends. I wish I could do that." That moment was a wake-up call. While I was busy comparing myself to her, she was comparing herself to me. The truth is, everyone has their own struggles and strengths. Life isn't a competition. It's a personal journey. If you've been caught in the trap of comparison, remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to someone else's life. Focus on what makes you unique and what brings you joy. Celebrate your accomplishments, no matter how small they may seem. Letting go of comparison allowed me to find peace in my own story. You'll discover the same sense of freedom when you shift your focus inward and honor your individual path. 9. The joy of saying yes to yourself. For years, I put everyone else first. I said yes to babysitting, volunteering, and helping others with their projects, but rarely to the things I wanted to do. I thought it was selfish to prioritize myself. Then one afternoon, I was at a community fundraiser, running around trying to do everything, when a friend pulled me aside and said, "You look exhausted. When's the last time you did something just for you?" I didn't have an answer, and that realization stuck with me. The next weekend, instead of filling my calendar with errands and favors, I signed up for a pottery class I'd been eyeing for months. That one small decision reignited a spark in me. If you've been putting yourself on the back burner, ask yourself, what's one thing I've been wanting to do? It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's starting a garden, joining a book club, or even just setting aside an hour to enjoy your favorite hobby. Saying yes to yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. When you take time to nurture your passions, you show up more fully in every other area of your life. Start with one small step and watch how it transforms your energy and outlook. 10. Finding strength in your own story. I'll never forget the day I stumbled across an old photo album tucked away in the back of my closet. Inside were pictures of a younger version of myself, laughing, exploring, living life with so much energy. For a moment I felt sad, comparing that version of me to who I am now. But as I flipped through the pages, something else happened. I started seeing the strength in my journey. Every wrinkle, every scar, every memory, they all told a story. The story of someone who has loved deeply, overcome challenges, and kept moving forward no matter what life threw their way. That realization changed how I see myself today. Your story is what makes you beautiful, resilient, and unique. If you ever doubt your worth, take a moment to reflect on everything you've been through and the person you've become. Write it down if you need to, or share it with someone close to you. You'll be amazed at the strength and wisdom you carry, qualities that inspire others in ways you may not even realize. 11. Embracing the unexpected. One of the biggest surprises of my retirement years has been finding joy in the little things. I used to think happiness came from big milestones, like family reunions, vacations, or achieving goals. But over time, I've realized the smaller moments can be just as powerful. For me, it's the first sip of coffee on a quiet morning, the way the sun filters through the window, or the laughter of a grandchild over a silly joke. These moments remind me that life is happening now, not in some distant future or grand event. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, try this. Take 5 minutes each day to notice the small joys around you. Write them down if it helps. You might be surprised at how these moments add up, creating a sense of gratitude and fulfillment. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. It just has to be noticed. 12. Building your own legacy. A few years ago, I attended a celebration for a friend's 80th birthday. During the event, her family took turns sharing stories about how she had impacted their lives. From her advice to her baked goods to her unwavering support. It was clear she had left a legacy of love and kindness. It got me thinking about the kind of legacy I wanted to leave behind. Building a legacy isn't about material possessions or grand achievements. It's about the memories, lessons, and love you pass on to those around you. Maybe it's a recipe you share with your grandchildren, a garden you cultivate, or simply the way you make people feel seen and valued. Start small. Think about the things you want to be remembered for, and begin incorporating them into your daily life. Whether it's writing letters, sharing your stories, or creating traditions, every little act of kindness adds up. Your legacy isn't something you leave behind, it's something you build every day. And when you focus on the impact you have on others, you'll find a deeper sense of purpose and connection in your own life. 13. Celebrating your wisdom. I used to brush off compliments about my wisdom, thinking they were just polite words. But one day, during a heartfelt conversation with my granddaughter, I realized how much she valued the lessons I'd shared. She said, "Grandma, you always seem to know just the right thing to say." It caught me off guard, but it made me reflect on how much life experience I've gained and the value it holds for others. Your wisdom is a gift, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Whether it's advice, a story, or just a listening ear, your experiences hold power. If you ever doubt your value, think about the times your words have comforted or guided someone else. Start seeing your wisdom for what it truly is, a source of strength and beauty. Maybe share a story with someone you trust, or write your reflections in a journal. The lessons you've learned can inspire and uplift others, and that's something to celebrate every day. 14. Finding beauty in change. I'll admit, I've struggled with change. When I retired, my routines shifted, my social circle changed, and even my body felt different. At first, it was unsettling, like I was losing parts of myself. But then I realized change doesn't mean losing. It means evolving. One of the moments that opened my eyes was when I decided to let my hair go gray. I'd resisted it for years, thinking it would make me look older. But as the gray strands grew in, I started to see them differently. Not as a sign of aging, but as a badge of everything I've been through. Each strand seemed to tell a story of resilience, growth, and love. If you're facing change, try to see it as an opportunity for growth. Whether it's adapting to a new lifestyle or embracing physical changes, remember that each step forward adds to your story. Change can be beautiful when you allow yourself to see it in a new light. 15. Reconnecting with your passions. For years, I told myself I was too busy to focus on my hobbies. I used to love painting, but the supply sat untouched in the back of my closet. Then, during one particularly quiet afternoon, I decided to dust off my old easel and see if I still had it in me. The first few strokes were hesitant, but soon I felt that familiar joy bubbling up. It wasn't about creating something perfect. It was about losing myself in the process and feeling alive. That moment reminded me that our passions are always there, waiting for us to come back to them. Think about something you've always loved but set aside. It could be gardening, dancing, baking, or even something new you've been curious about. Give yourself permission to explore it without pressure. Rediscovering your passions isn't just about fun. It's about reconnecting with the parts of yourself that bring joy and fulfillment. Let me ask you this. What will you take away from today's lessons? Whether it's cherishing your wisdom, reconnecting with passions, or embracing the small joys in life, you have the power to shape your journey in ways that feel right for you. Remember, your life is a masterpiece, and every decision you make adds to its beauty. If this resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else. Now go, celebrate yourself. You've earned it.